Hello everyone, my name is Hamlett Vanderhorst. I'm going to be talking today about the barriers and cost model of UAS service in the decentralized system, case of the Dominican Republic. This presentation is based on some research made during the PhD, and also it's been promoted by the brand Cocodrone, which is the brand used for um, consultancy, education, and commercial purpose. So let's start. We're gonna talk four main points just to make it short. We're just going to talk about what is the decentralized system, what are the drones that should be suitable for the system, what are the cases in which we may be able to apply, just going to provide an overview, and finally conclusions. As I mentioned before, the Cocodrone brand is the commercial name used, built in 2016 when his co-founder were interested to provide peace for their investors. It means how we can provide transparency and monitoring without them being within construction site. So through this brand, projects in the Dominican Republic has been benefited in obtaining knowledge about drones, construction, and in general application of drones. You can see our portfolio in Instagram, SketchUp, and YouTube. Some of our recently uh, works. So we started in 2016 being a service provider and provide also workshop for organization, disaster management, and urban planning and others. And then we involved to be a consultancy firm. Then between 2019 and 2022, we focus in deliver knowledge about drone. And then finally, we now go closing together with a consultant stage and be a supervisor of service provider that we can guarantee or assure to the customers that the intended project with drones are being under control or has been managed under certain regulations and requirements or specific standards. So we set us apart in three major categories, which are digitalization, risk reduction, and cargo. These are the three pillars of drones. So based on these three pillars, the company works, and we also guide the application of drone through that three major points. So let's start. First, let's go on to talk about the conceptual decentralization of system utilizing blockchain. So first, we need to understand what is a blockchain. What are the category of blockchains that there are currently in the market, and which one should be useful for us? So there are blockchain systems that are public, that there are no central authority that holds the command or the control. All the people involved in the blockchain system, they have access to monitor and ensure that the transaction has been transparent. That's why we have in sense of mining computers, like these computers are the one that record the transaction. So in this public domain, everybody has access and see just the transaction, but they may not be able to see who made the transaction. So then we have another type of blockchain system in which can be private, controlled by someone else, that we normally call smart contracts, in which are private, and consortium, in which a group of people they manage the blockchain system or the smart contract. And then when we get within both together, then we have a process that is like a semi-public smart contract, in which there are one entity that or authority that controls and provide permission to different processes within the blockchain. So based on these approaches, depends who's our stakeholder willing to apply drone, then they may prefer different type of blockchain systems. So let's go to talk about drones then. how we can incorporate drones within the blockchain system. What are the capabilities that the drone may have, or what are the benefits? So the role of drones, they need to have Internet of Things incorporated within in order to receive commands from the authority or for the group of controller of the smart contract. Normally, this approach allow the system, or allow the operations or the service that is going to be provided to control the number of drones that are required. Depends on the task. Then there are specific number of drones that we're going to need for XYZ task. That later in the case we can discuss that. We can manage the task accordingly to multiple drones or just one drone. And finally, we need to be aware of about the external factors that can be about weather conditions and also policy. Depends on the land in which is operate this smart contract. There are going to be different type of restrictions regarding what can be possible and what cannot be possible in terms of the drone operations and also in terms of the blockchain system, if they're going to be legally authorized or not, if they can be public, private, or they have to be hybrid, or they have to be included financial entity in order to make it worthy or make it valid. Depends on the country, then we're gonna address that. So the suitability of the drone are normally a little bit basic or technical, but when we talk about the smart contract, what we need to add is the point of contact that the drone is going to provide information to that smart contract and provide information regarding if a milestone has been achieved, if a specific mission has been complete, or what is the current status of the operation and why it has not yet been carried out, deployed, or yet finished. So these in the slide are some of the ideas that we need to bear in mind. We're gonna need specific points in which the drone can assure with QR code when they land if specifically the operation has been carried out. We may need a platform in which the drone can have actually connection with the land in order to assure that the process was carried out well. Also, payment system provision in cryptocurrency in some occasions might be required to create a new cryptocurrency if it's a private consortium of smart contract in which with the exchange of money or the investor when they put money in that decentralized system or in that centralized system, with every purchase or every investment, they can allow the drone to operate XYZ thing operation. If in the future that smart contract is willing to expand the business capability that they can use the crypto as a trade part of the business model, or they have also the drone service model, or they have both together as a designer or implementer, then these business implications should be taken in consideration if they're going to be looked at for the business side. Also, some consideration about AI, if artificial intelligence it's going to be incorporated within the smart contract. Instead to have as decentralized entities, humans, if we have AI, which they can identify when a specific milestone has been achieved for the task, then that AI can actually provide permission in a private smart contract for payments to the contractor or to the own self owner of the drone. Now there are many things that we need to be thinking and considering of that. So finally, we're going to go a little bit deeper to see theoretically how should we apply this type of approach. I just took one of the examples that you can read in in the cover page of the slides, a publication regarding landslide, in which we identify that landslides are not commonly events that happen, but we need to be monitoring many times a community. So we need to understand where should be located a drone, how they're going to be managed during that type of environment, and what other applications they could be addressing before, after, or, or during that is waiting the event happen. So that type of approach have some barriers in which we need to have like a strong IT infrastructure in order to understand, for example, if we're going to have drones that monitoring the landslide occurrence, we may need to have drones that they are going to constantly mapping specific sites that they are totally um, tentative to have a landslide. But with the same data that we are utilizing to map that specific area, we can also use it for urban studies or monitoring the urban population or identify further risk that the geological area may be changing or how the people are moving through that area or how we can reallocate people in case that happens. So those digital data, they are very useful if we have a relevant IT infrastructure that including building information modeling, including GIS, another type of sophisticated model in which we can simulate what may happen and through time how things may change or may improve or we may need to desestimate. So for that we need a robust cost structure developed, because when we don't have fundings allocated or we have the idea in which how much this kind of investment is going to be retributed to the community or to the area that we're going to do, it's going to be very hard for policymakers or international grants to be willing to invest in this type of technology or approaches. So we need to may have a specific test that identify the cost effective um, return of investment about the solution that is willing to implement. So just an example of this cost structure, there is a kind of fixed price to develop the Ethereum smart contract. If it's public or private, it's just about programming that it has like a fixed price that it may not change because it's just capability of programming. But there are going to be certain type of alterations if we add, for example, AI or other type of technology within the smart contract. But with drones, the part of drones, it's a little bit more complicated based on the drone that we're gonna intend to use. That drone can actually vary the cost very high or reduce the cost or effective of the operation. So we need to have in consideration the type of drone that we're gonna use, the kilogram or the weight, the permission that are required, and what type of operation they normally going to be carried out. If it's supervised or unsupervised, but it's going to be manual, who's going to operate that in case of failure, who's going to pay for that, or how is going to be managed that type of risk. So these barriers of how it should be operated, the risk involved, and the area that should be covered with the drone, these aspects they're going to incorporate within the cost structure. Normally the basic idea, just to provide an example, might be a fixed cost just to taking images. Those images, if we have a drone in a dock, then that drone can operate and take pictures for the specific sites. So those images, they may have a cost or they may have operational costs involved. So based on that, might be just the basic foundation or line to start. And then according to the digital skills that that community, that urban area, or that disaster management plan is willing to develop, then there are specific stages that can also be added then in the future. After we have images, Then we can add it the different type of approaches regarding to photogrammetry, other type of sensor, for example, LiDAR, um, or pollution measurements. In case, for example, in China, they have pollution problems. So we can add that type of sensors that can measure the pollution specifics, and we can then make data analysis about what is the influence of pollution, landslide, or any other type of disaster within the community that we are evaluating based on the data that we gather for the drone. So finally, as a conclusion, there are 4 recommendations. First, we need to train the stakeholders involved, because if they are not trained or understand what actually the technology is going to be helping them, then they're gonna face many problems in skill and also timing sustainability of the project. Then evaluate the feasibility of each cases. If it's monitoring, if it's urban planning, if it's construction, if it's medical samples, if it's anything, how that environment is going to be altered based on the incorporation of drones, and how the decentralized system is going to contribute to reduce the interference of humans, or the the issues that humans versus machine may face in the future. Then we need to strengthen the cyberspace capability of the entity involved. What is the relevance to have a cyberspace, or develop their own database about the drones? And finally, assure the accurate or adequate to UAS multiple operations. If they're going to be exactly what being asked for, or if the results that they're going to be receiving, do they adapt to the actual system that we are willing to incorporate. So thank you so much. This is my email. If you need anything else or any question, just drop me an email. I immediately going to reply to you. You can follow in different social media. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy.